Afrofuturism, a philosophy of science and history blended with Afro-culture to present current issues faced by the Black community through science fiction, fantasy, magic realism, and non-Western cosmologies. Originally coined by Mark Derry in a 1994 essay entitled Black to the Future, although imagined by Sun Ra in the 1930s, it is intertwined in a wide variety of artistic expressions, as well as shedding light on previous historical events. Here's a quote from the essay. "Isn't the unreal state of the future already owned by the technocrats, futurologists, streamliners, and set designers, white to a man, who have engineered our collective fantasies? Afrofuturism is the reclaiming of the African diaspora history, only limited by the imagination of the artists themselves. Afrofuturism is continued by artists like Erykah Badu, Missy Elliott, Janelle Monáe, Solange Knowles, Beyoncé, and more. The Afrofuturist narrative has been in numerous installations in museums, like the artist Saya Woolfolk, who portrayed utopian universes and a future race fusing, but not erasing, racial and ethnic boundaries. Two artists who have delved into the Afrofuturism is the comic writer Roxane Gay and illustrator Natasha Bustos. Bustos illustrated Moon Girl, an Afrofuturistic comic about a young, super intelligent Black girl who spends her time inventing gadgets and daydreaming of the unknown. Natasha Bustos had a clear motive while creating Moon Girl, and that was to create the representation she lacked growing up. Continuing on the theme of intersectionality, Bustos asked Roxane Gay, a best-selling writer, professor, commentator, who discussed her intersectional identity with her sexuality and race, to assist in writing Moon Girl. Afrofuturism envisions a future with an ever-ending and all-inclusive identity without the erasure of the history of the marginalized.
Continuing the conversation on Afrofuturism, I'm going to tell you about Octavia Butler, who is an acclaimed and incredibly successful science fiction author. Octavia Estelle Butler was born in Pasadena, California on June 22nd in the year 1947. Growing up in a racially integrated community in the midst of racial segregation allowed her to experience ethnic and cultural diversity in her surroundings. Butler was raised by a single mother who worked tirelessly as a cleaning lady for white families. Butler would often accompany her mother to work, where she would see these families treat her mother poorly and insist that she entered their homes through their back doors. Butler was incredibly shy and dyslexic, and suffered from dyslexia, which made it very hard for her to socialize and fit in with others. As a result of the frequent torment and bullying she faced, Butler spent much of her time in local libraries developing a deep love for stories. Her love for fiction and fantastical adventures started with an obsession with fairy tales and developed into a deep interest in science fiction novels. In college, Butler started to win prizes for her short stories and creative writing. One day in class, she heard a young African-American peer who was involved in the Black Power movement criticize past generations of African-Americans for being subservient and giving in to white people. This inspired Butler to write her novel Kindred, which she authored as a reaction to her generation of civil rights activists, quote, feeling ashamed of or more strongly angry with their parents for not having improved things faster. She felt as though that she had to, quote, give historical context for to that shameful subservience so that it could be understood as silent but courageous survival. She was inspired by many teachers and mentors. For example, the noted science fiction writer Harlan Ellison, a white male author who set up classes for diverse groups of people to develop their writing skills, was inspired by Butler's work and motivated her to attend writing workshops. He also encouraged Butler to continue to use her experiences facing ridicule and hate due to her race, sexual preference, gender identity, family structure, and ability to inspire stories of fictional creatures and environments. She spent the next 5 years of her life working on her Patronus series of books and continuing her success in the genre of science fiction novels. Later in her life, in 1995, Butler became the first science fiction author to win the acclaimed John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation Fellowship, displaying that she wasn't just an influential member of the science fiction community, but also of the community of acclaimed novelists and authors as a whole. Butler revolutionized many genres of literature, but had maybe the biggest impact on the genre of Afrofuturism. Her writing, unlike many other authors of her time, had protagonists who are of African descent, but created communities that were multi-ethnic and sometimes even multi-species. In a 2010 memorial to Butler, who sadly passed away in 2006, Whit Douglas Kilgore and Ranu Simantrai noted that, quote, while Butler does offer an Afrocentric sensibility at the core of narratives, her insistence on hybridity beyond the point of discomfort exceeds the tenets of both Black cultural nationalism and of white-dominated liberal pluralism. I would recommend that anyone who likes science fiction, stories with African Americans as protagonists, or just anyone who likes good books to pick up one of her novels and discover the inspirational and mind-blowing worlds that Octavia Butler has created. We're gonna play the trailer for the Black Panther movie. So it comes out Friday. And this is a kind of the most popular and mainstream, I guess, form of Afrofuturism. But I really encourage everyone to go see it in theaters, because if more movies like this get money and are seen as successful, then like maybe even some of Octavia Butler's films could be, or books could be made into films. So here we go.